That is a man hand. That's a man hand. Hey, the pressure changed, do y'all? Only a man knows what a man needs.
But I haven't addressed any of this publicly, but I just want to say this very clearly. I don't have to do with Puffy, so y'all can stop all their meetings. I can stop all of that. I ain't been nowhere near no damn freak off. Listen, I do enough of my own. Don't be putting me in other people's. I ain't been nowhere near that man. I ain't did none of that stupid. So, whenever y'all hear it, if somebody say that, it's a damn lie. I don't even like baby oil.
That denial landed differently than most denials do. Because Will Smith didn't just say it wasn't true. He said it with the specific energy of someone who has been watching a conversation build in a direction he can no longer afford to let continue unchallenged. The baby oil joke. The freak-off distance. The I do enough of my own line delivered to a laughing crowd. Every word in that sequence was chosen carefully. And the crowd response, that specific combination of laughter and genuine surprise, tells you that even the people in the room understood they were watching something more than a comedian doing crowd work. They were watching a man draw a line in public that he needed people to see him draw.
What you and Diddy was doing together in your younger years. All that's coming out.
Who else did you see allegedly on the tapes?
Tyrese with Will and Jada. Then the one with Charlie Mack and Will. Jada's not on it, but you can hear her say, make him spit up. Period.
For years, 50 Cent has repeatedly drawn attention to the closely watched connection between Will Smith and Diddy, using pointed public remarks and sharp commentary to keep that association in the spotlight. Instead of letting the conversation fade, he has continued to question the image, influence, and silence surrounding their long-discussed relationship, pushing audiences to look more carefully at what may have been overlooked or deliberately left unexamined. The focus here is simple: 50 Cent exposing the long-standing Will Smith and Diddy dynamic by forcing public attention toward a connection that has generated curiosity for years and continues to raise serious discussion.
The names being attached to specific tape allegations, Tyrese, Will, Jada, Charlie Mack, represent a shift in how this conversation has been operating. For years the discussion stayed at the level of general association. Who was around Diddy? Who attended which events? Who stayed silent when silence became a public statement? But specific names attached to specific alleged footage moves the conversation from proximity into something considerably more direct. And the speed with which 50 Cent has continued keeping that association visible, not letting it settle, not allowing it to fade into background noise, reflects a deliberate strategy of maintaining pressure until something moves.
Will Smith and Jada tried to pick her up on a threesome and you were going to beat up Will Smith. Is that true?
You really heard that? Nah.
What? Yeah, I watched it on the internet. You're telling me I can't believe everything I read?
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Chris, I'm not watching the movie. It's not happening.
You don't understand. Do you understand why he slapped Chris? Did you see in that moment from probably what he was dealing with?
What was he dealing with? What the f was he dealing with?
Something made him slap his brother.
No, something didn't make him snap anything. He laughed at that bad joke that Chris said like everybody else. And then Jada looked at him and it was like the Manchurian Candidate.
Not the Manchurian.
Real life. It ain't real life.
The Oscars slap has been analyzed from every possible angle since the moment it happened. But the framework being applied here, that what the audience saw on that stage was the visible output of something much larger happening inside that marriage, that household. And that circle of influence is the one that keeps returning to the conversation no matter how many times the official version gets restated. The Manchurian Candidate reference is brutal and specific. It's not calling Will Smith weak. It's describing a man who laughed at the joke along with everyone else in the room and then received a signal that redirected everything. Whether that framing is accurate is a separate question. Whether it keeps resonating with people who watched that moment and felt something didn't add up, that question answers itself every time the clip gets replayed.
Now, I have to ask before we get out, because I don't want to forget it. Your earrings just reminded me of Black Power, Black Excellence, and I just need your take on it, because Emancipation comes out in 1 hour. Came out December 9th, which is today's the 9th, right?
That's such a fucking below the belt fucking question.
No, but I just got
It's the only below the belt question that you asked, because you already know what's gonna happen. Don't front. We've been down there. Fuck Will Smith.
No, wait.
He can kiss my ass.
Wait.
He should have never slapped Chris. I'm not watching the movie.
Damn it.
It's not happening.
You don't understand. Do you understand why he slapped Chris? Did you see in that moment from probably what he was dealing with?
What was he dealing with?
Shit, I don't know.
What the fuck was he dealing with?
Something made him slap his brother.
No, something didn't make him snap anything. He laughed at that badass joke that Chris said like every fucking body else. And then Jada looked at him and it was like the Manchurian Candidate.
Not the Manchurian. God damn it.
That's what the fuck happened.
I thought there's a legion of women who said, I'm glad for Will fighting for his woman.
Yeah, because they still want to believe that sham of a fucking marriage is real.
Oh. Well, there you go.
He ain't never gonna be Tupac, and she proved it when she fucked August Alsina.
Ooh, man. Yeah.
They're both bisexual. They do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house fucking screaming to get away from them in their mentorship. Meek Mills.
The Emancipation commentary is where the personal and the political collapse into each other completely. A movie about a man breaking free from bondage being made by a man who various voices across multiple platforms are describing as anything but free. The irony isn't subtle, and nobody in this conversation is pretending it is. But what gives the critique its specific weight isn't the title of the film. It's the detail about Jaden emancipating from the household at 16 and refusing to return even for family interviews. Because children make decisions based on what they experience directly. And when a 16-year-old decides that legal separation from his parents is the necessary move and then maintains that distance consistently, the question of what he experienced inside that house becomes one that the public record cannot answer and the family has never fully addressed.
And if silence once carried influence, then its breakdown leads to an even more serious question. What was that silence really shielding all along?
It all started, we was in Atlanta. And this story starts when I'm with Puff and he's in exotic bookstores and he's doing shopping, right? He's shopping, getting his stuff and everything like that. So, you know, this is the first time I was ever in an exotic bookstore with Puff. So, you know, I'm giving him his space. He's taking things off the shelves and stuff like that because they gave him a brown paper bag. When they gave him a brown paper bag, he was just putting stuff in there. So I said, damn, you know, he got to go put it on the counter and, you know, show everybody what he's getting. So as he's going, I'm just looking at the places where he's picking stuff from. So there's one part he picked up some things from up here on my left side. And then he picked like quite a few of them down. I'm like, okay. He put them in the bag. So when I went by there and I looked up there and it said butt plugs. And I was like, hey, yo. I was messing with him. Because people don't understand, you know, we was like friends. He was a part of the same gang. So I'm still gonna tease him. I'm still gonna mess with him and everything like that. I could do that. It wasn't just no security thing. So I say, yo, what are you getting this for? And it said butt plugs. And he was like, yo, can I do my shopping by myself? I said, yeah, you can do it by yourself, brother. And he started walking and everything like that. And when he got I just waited at the counter. When he got to the counter, he didn't even have to show the guy nothing. He just gave the guy a wad of money. I mean, like he gave the guy a stack something like this. And Puff wasn't the dude that carried no 20s and no 50s and nothing like that. And I mean, like, he just said, boom. And we walked out the store. So we had to leave Atlanta and go to North Carolina for a show. You understand? And it was him, this rapper, Sarah, and this other girl. We all got on a G5 jet and we flew to G4 jet and we flew to North Carolina.
The exotic bookstore story told from the perspective of someone who was physically present, who watched the items go into the paper bag, who read the label, who asked the question that got answered with studied nonchalance, is the kind of first-hand account that operates differently than second-hand allegation. Not because it proves anything beyond what it describes, but because it places a specific person in a specific location doing a specific thing in front of a witness who remembers the details clearly enough to recount them years later. And the detail about the cash, no 20s, no 50s, just a stack handed over without the items ever having to be displayed at the counter, is the kind of specific operational detail that invented stories rarely contain. Real memories tend to come with textures that generalized accounts don't.
So,
what stayed obscured was not one isolated moment, but a recurring pattern. Connections softened by status, and closeness dismissed as coincidence. Diddy's influence was visible in plain sight, yet real scrutiny rarely moved beyond success and access. As familiarity weakened, concern and repetition stripped away urgency. The point is not to make claims, but to examine the culture itself. Once certain patterns are treated as ordinary, they disappear into the background. And the more difficult question becomes how much goes unchallenged, simply because people were conditioned to see it as normal.
when they were in the room and they would go in the room with another couple, right? And I've seen some things happen in the jacuzzi. Like when I'm the only one could go to the room 9 times out of 10. When Puff was the one who, was in the presidential suite, I'm the only one allowed. I gotta watch the door. No one can get into that door. I'm the only one that had the pass key or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes you would hear a boom, 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 a thump or whatever the situation is and stuff like that. Yo, what's up? Everything good? And sometimes they would open the door. I'm right there by the door. Sometimes you see things you don't want to see.
Hey, did they ever try to get you involved?
Not at all.
Or for you?
Not at all. Puff did it one time, but that's in my book. When he was coming from Dallas, he had the snow bunnies. And I reneged on that. Nah, I'm good.
Hey, did you see any celebrities Puffy did any of that stuff with? The swinger stuff with?
Yeah, I did.
Tell me about that.
I think I told you about that. One time, him and Sarah and this young girl flew from Atlanta. And they, and flying from Atlanta, we had this artist with us, right? And we were staying in the presidential suite at the hotel. And this particular artist and Puff, they told me, don't let nobody come in the room. So I said, all right, cool. So I propped my chair by the room door.
Standing at the door of the presidential suite. The pass key that only he had. The thumps from inside. The everything good check that sometimes resulted in the door opening and things being seen that weren't meant to be seen. What's being described here is not participation. It's proximity. The specific kind of proximity that comes with being trusted enough to guard the door but not trusted enough to be invited inside. And what that position produces is a particular kind of knowledge, not the knowledge of someone who was involved, but the knowledge of someone who was present enough to understand what involvement looked like from the outside. That distinction between witness and participant is the one that shapes everything about how this testimony functions and what it can and cannot establish.
The movie Emancipation, how the fuck you gonna play in a movie called Emancipation and you can't emancipate yourself?
Ooh. Bars.
Cause you trapped in a hole. My nigga, you trapped in a hole. This bitch clowning you day after day after day after day. And once again, I hate saying these things because their children are dope. But Jaden's kind of MIA. And considering that he emancipated from their household at 16 and refused to come back, even to do family interviews. You know?
Yeah.
Willow's just kind of, she's dope. Too much shit happened in that fucking house. Too much shit happened in that fucking house. And meanwhile, I go to jail for defending my child, and these niggas don't even get a CPS fucking visit for the kind of shit they kids see. You know?
There you go.
So yeah, I'll watch the movie when, you know, I'll watch Emancipation when he emancipates himself from the hell that he lives in, that he tries to call marriage with that woman who still wished Tupac was alive.
The closer someone moves to influence, the higher the cost of asking difficult questions too soon. When proximity delivers immediate opportunity while consequences emerge much later, the deeper issue is not when the shift happens. It is who is left to absorb the burden once the narrative finally turns.
But enjoy the film, buy lots of popcorn. I ain't supporting shit he fucking do. He's a bad representation for black men. He is literally the epitome of a ballless man. I'm sick and tired of people making our black men look weak. I'm sick and tired of that shit because I don't know no nigga that would put up with the shit that bitch done put him through. Now you could justify staying because you ain't want to cut up the money because she would have got the child support and the alimony, but the kids is grown. So if you staying now, it's either because you being blackmailed to stay or you too lazy to go. He housebroken. That don't fit right for a Philly nigga.
He housebroken. 3 words delivered with the specific resignation of someone who grew up in a culture with very particular expectations about how a man from Philadelphia is supposed to carry himself and who is prom. Watching someone from that same cultural tradition fail those expectations in a way that feels personal rather than merely observational. The commentary about Jaden, about Willow, about too much happening in that house, none of it is framed as inside information. It's framed as what becomes visible when you watch closely enough and long enough that the public performance stops holding together seamlessly. Children emancipating. Silence maintained until it becomes unsustainable. The distance between the image and the reality expanding until it can't be bridged by press releases and award show appearances anymore.
So I'm gonna get into this Diddy documentary that's been going on, man. It's still #1 as far as I know, man. I mean, I don't know how many millions of times this thing has been streamed, but this thing it's kind of crazy how big this thing actually is, you know, because us that's been following for a really long time, you know, kind of heard a lot of the stuff, man, but people are still going crazy for it, man. So what was your first reaction when you first seen it?
When I first seen it, I said, damn, they stole my whole damn idea. You understand? Because I was talking to the producers, and before I talked to the executive director, and the producers knew, I was telling them what I was bringing to the table. Because I was trying to get a deal for me, Kirk, and Tim all together. Like a package deal. I wanted to try to get like $50,000 for each.
We were at a birthday party that I think either Matt Damien was giving for Ben Affleck. It was just a little gathering. They was at the Four Seasons. Will Smith and his sister and her husband, we were all sitting on this side of the room. Matt Damien, Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, Puff, Will Smith, and Jada, and they was sitting on the other side of the room. So I know Puff so well that he stood up. When he stood up, he walked and did his arm some kind of way, like, and then he went like this, you know, like, I went over towards him. I know to go over there towards him. So I go over towards him, and he said to me, he said, yo, I think Will and Jada is trying to scoop up Jennifer. I want you to stay close, because I'm going to snuff him. I said to myself, Will Smith gonna beat the shit out you. Now, Puff could scrap now, but I don't think he could beat Will Smith. You know what I'm saying? But he can scrap. You know what I'm saying? So then he said that shit. So I didn't go back over there where Will Smith's sister and her husband was, I stayed like in the, like about, if he snuffed Will, I could move slow enough that Will could probably get 2 or 3 punches back in.
The birthday party story: Will Smith, Jada, Jennifer Lopez, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Diddy, all in the same room at the Four Seasons is the kind of specific social geography that most people filing rumors don't have access to. The detail about Diddy's arm signal, the recognition of what that signal meant from someone who knew his communication patterns well enough to respond to it correctly, and then the content of what he said that Will and Jada were making advances toward Jennifer Lopez and that he was positioning himself to intervene physically if necessary. Whether that account is accurate in every detail is something only the people in that room can verify. But the specificity of it, the location, the participants, the sequence of events, the internal calculation about moving slow enough to let Will get a few punches back has the texture of something that was actually witnessed rather than constructed.
Yeah, but that shit was funny. He thought that Jada and Will was coming on too strong to Jennifer, making advances.
A documentary changes the terms of the conversation by bringing scattered moments together with clearer sequence and sharper context. 50 Cent moves the discussion away from speculation and closer to a more focused public record. This is not about delivering a verdict, but about redirecting attention, questioning why certain issues were never fully explored and why others were so easily allowed to fade from view.
You know what I'm saying? So I told them what we was bringing to the table, who was going to tell the story, how they was going to tell their story. You know, I didn't know exactly what they were going to say, but I knew Tim grew up with Puff, so he can get the childhood thing. So I'm going and telling them the whole angle in which I would like for this to go. You know what I'm saying? What we was bringing to the table. I didn't know how they was going to do it, but I was saying, this is what we're going to bring to the table. Tim could start off with the childhood part of it because they grew up together. That's Tim Dog, Tim Patterson. Also, you know, he was the one who was working at Uptown. He was executive over there of A&R and all that other stuff. He went to Island Records. He used to work with over there at Arista, the whole 9 yards. Tim is the one who had the Lost Boys. If you remember the Lost Boys,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Tim was the manager of them. That was his group and everything like that. So Tim had a lot of inside and a lot of stuff to do with Puff. I had a lot of other people I could have brought to the table too. Eddie F, who taught Puff how to work the board and everything like that. Just Eddie F, Heavy D, and the boys DJ. I was going to try to get Eddie and some other people like that, but it fell through because the lady was telling me what somebody else didn't give me or what somebody else didn't pay me, and she was being disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? I thought she was a white lady. I'm finding out she's a sister.
Long-form investigation unsettles an industry that relies on short public memory by refusing to let important stories disappear on cue. When careful documentation takes the place of casual dismissal, the conflict is no longer only about facts. It becomes a struggle over control, over who gets to shape the lasting version of events, and who no longer holds the power to make those events fade.
The answer about Biggie's mother being Diddy's biggest victim is the moment that resets the entire emotional register of the conversation. Because throughout everything else, the allegations, the tape discussions, the industry analysis, the focus has been on power, leverage, and the mechanics of influence. And then this answer arrives and places two mothers at the center of the story instead. The women who raised the men whose deaths Diddy has been connected to in various capacities across various accounts. The women who were told the funeral would be covered and then found out it had been billed to the estate. That specific detail, not just failing to pay, but charging the dead man's own budget for the cost of burying him, is the one that lands without any commentary needed. Some things explain themselves.
You know, Diddy has a long list of victims. You know, I mean, you got Cassie, Kurt Burrows, Shine, Little Rod, Mark Curry. I mean, you know what I'm saying? The list goes on of all the people who he's did wrong. You know, out of all the people you've heard of, and all the stories that you heard and the stuff that you know about, you know, who do you think is like Diddy's biggest victim?
Who I think Diddy's biggest victim is?
Yep.
The mothers.
Okay.
Big's mama. Wolf's mother. the people that lost their sons. They could never get that back, especially with those are the two people that changed his life, put him on that pedestal to be a great producer. So I believe the mothers in them that lost their sons are the biggest victims of it all.
Man, that's deep, man. That's crazy, man. You know, because I mean, you know, you brought up Big and the mom, and in the documentary they even talk about Diddy not paying for the funeral, acting like he's gonna pay it, but then billing it to Biggie. What was your thoughts on that? When you seen that, were you surprised when you seen that?
No, I wasn't surprised, you know, because they said that when Big died, he built the estate. He took it out of Big's his budget. You understand what I'm saying? So
yep.
I wonder who got the life insurance policy. It was crazy.
1,000 bottles. That specific number, not a few, not a large quantity, but 1,000 is the detail that collapsed the baby oil explanation faster than any press statement could have. Because there is no domestic explanation for 1,000 bottles of anything. There is no party supply logic, no skincare regimen, no legitimate business purpose that accounts for that volume stored in a residential property. And the Costco confirmation that they don't even sell baby oil in that quantity adds a layer of verification to the absurdity that the number alone had already established. When the prosecution describes substances, alleged to be baby oil, that specific legal phrasing, not baby oil but alleged to be baby oil, the gap between the label and the contents becomes the entire story in 4 words.
Like button, subscribe, and stay locked in to Cam Capone News.
The response to scrutiny reveals just how uneven accountability can be. Some individuals face immediate fallout, while others remain protected by reputation, legacy, or carefully maintained alliances. The renewed focus on Diddy, along with the connected attention on Will Smith, shows how protection often functions less as a personal favor and more as part of a larger built-in system. This is not about hidden coordination, but about the way that system is structured. And when accountability only begins once silence no longer works, it raises a difficult question. Can a system that reacts that late ever truly be called consistent?
Isn't it weird that the government was so interested in Diddy's baby oil that they took 1,000 bottles away from his house? If the government took 1,000 bottles of baby oil and somebody had things what appeared to be baby oil, and then you have to listen to the prosecutor. He said that they seized 1,000 bottles what allegedly to be baby oil. Allegedly to be baby oil. So that's telling people that it wasn't baby oil. And people think that that was baby oil, they out their mind. I don't believe it was baby oil. Yo, bro, when they went up in there, they knew what they was gonna find. They knew what was ever in that baby oil or that those bottles that appeared to be baby oil, they knew about that at first. You gotta realize 9 times out of 10, that individual that got caught at the airport, that was supposed to be their carrier, told them what they was doing and what they had. I wouldn't put it past that he told them everything. So when they went up in there, they knew they had to take whatever was out there, and that thing that appeared to be baby oil, they took that. They got to test every last one of them. Let's see how much, let's see how many of those come back to be baby oil. Bro, listen to me. Costco don't sell that much baby oil. Where you know sell that much baby oil?
Yeah, I don't know any store that sell that much baby oil. I know Costco, they came out and said that they don't even sell baby oil.
My sentiments exactly.
Gene Deal predicting the September arrest before it happened and explaining the prediction through knowledge of how grand jury sessions work and what witness testimony had already established is the kind of specific, process-based analysis that separates someone with genuine law enforcement background from someone speculating for content. The framework he offers for understanding Diddy not born a monster but made into one, shaped by what was done to him. Replicating those patterns on others is uncomfortable precisely because it asks the audience to hold two things simultaneously. The accountability that the legal system is now delivering and the humanity of understanding how cycles of abuse propagate through systems that normalize the abnormal until the next generation treats it as simply the price of entry.
Deal. Let's get right into it. Diddy, he got indicted. You called it, man. A few weeks ago, you was on the platform and you said that he was going to get arrested in September.
Yeah, man. Anybody who in law enforcement or people know the law, when Homeland Security ran up into his house, people will tell you, or people knew that it was just a matter of time that they was going to indict him and bring him in to see the judge, bro. It was just a matter of time. I just figured out with the grand jury and their different sessions and stuff like that, and then what one of the witnesses told me, I just figured it out that it was going to be around September that they were going to bring him in, bro. People might not understand. It's difficult when you see a brother that has so much promise become an icon as far as in the music business and stuff that he did, to turn around and just tear his whole life down. But it's all because of his mentors and the people that trained him and taught him the music business. You know, it's all about the people who trained and taught him the music business, because Puff wasn't he wasn't born a monster. You know what I'm saying? He was made into a monster, brother. Do you understand what I'm saying? He was made into a monster from the stuff that happened to him, the things that he had to do. You understand? The things that he had to do to become who he is. You know what I'm saying? You know, it's like this, brother. You never like something so much that you can't do without, and you never be willing to do anything to get where you want to be at. You got to have principles, you got to have morals, you got to keep with that stuff. And in that music business, a lot of that stuff get thrown out the window. You understand? And that's what happened to him. He started doing the things to other people that was done to him. To keep it frank, he was doing the things to other people that was done to him. And it is what it is. You gotta know better. And if you know better, you will do better. When he was in New York City, he was like that gecko from the Geico commercial. Then he turned and started going, when he lived in Cali and Miami, he turned into Godzilla. I would see him talk about how he using drugs. He was never like that. Smoking cigarettes, smoking weed and everything like that. He turned into something that you could consider a monster, bruh. Then he started doing things to people. You understand that?
The Geico gecko to Godzilla metaphor is memorable, but what sits underneath it is the more serious observation. That the transformation wasn't sudden. It was gradual, enabled, and visible to people who were close enough to watch it happen in real time. The cigarettes, the weed, the shift in how he treated people around him, the things being done to others that had previously been done to him. That cycle, trauma received becoming trauma inflicted, is the pattern that the legal system is now adjudicating, but that the people in his immediate circle were watching develop across years without any mechanism to stop. Tent. The system that created the monster and the system now prosecuting the monster are not entirely separate structures. They are different phases of the same arrangement. And that is the question that outlasts any single verdict.